5 snowy scenes or top 5 scenes with just any snow in it at all. Uh, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully, there's no overlap because there are some really iconic picks, but there are also some really like uh, surprising picks. Hopefully for you guys.
This is
Um,
true.
and yeah, should I? Do you want to start?
I have zero preference.
You could start.
Okay. Um, Picture yourself. It's 2004. You're a nubile babe hobbling into the theater to see the newest installment of your favorite franchise, Harry Potter.
Oh,
Specifically, Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban, with the invisible cloak snowball scene.
hell yeah!
I tried picking a list where the snow plays a significant part in the scene or has at
Right.
least been used in some way, shape, or form. And this was just a wholesome pick. I remember smiling like a motherfucker when Harry's just beating up on Draco and the lads and hitting them in the face with snowballs. Like, it doesn't get much better than that.
So good.
Sadly, it couldn't be higher than my number five, but it still cracked the five.
That's an excellent pick. I'm upset I didn't even think about Harry Potter because there's so many great
Thank you.
snow scenes.
There is.
My number 5 is the end of In Bruges. Uh, so if you don't want a spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, go to this time code, and we'll.
And if you're listening, skip ahead like 40 seconds ish.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll give myself 40 seconds. Yeah, there's lots of suspense. It's a darkly funny ending featuring a lot of character deaths. And the snow's fake, but it still plays a really awesome role in the thing. It plays into the holiday vibes of the movie, it plays into the dark comedy. The whole entire time they're talking about shooting a Christmas movie. They're talking about shooting a movie with a as they say in the film, a midget. And it all kind of goes full circle. This movie is a very dark morality play and
Hmm.
a very amazing comedy of just redemption and punishment and crime, and it's really really interesting, and so that's why I did it.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Hmm.
Also, I feel like you didn't really spoil much, but I'm glad. That's probably for the best. Yeah, we need to talk about that movie on this podcast at some point.
For
Maybe
sure.
maybe a dark comedy episode in our future.
Mm,
My number four is another children's movie, another one just for the little youngins.
nice.
Um, a movie that features a scene where Jamie Foxx practices his shooting on a snowman. It's Django Unchained, where he does just that. He's just getting some practice in. It's followed by some great Western montages of them riding across snowy landscapes too. I'll throw that in the mix.
So good.
Um, but it's smooth. It is so Western. I mean, this whole movie is a Western, but there's such homages to just classic Western cinematography in this, with the cuts, with the slow pullbacks, with his hand hovering by the gun. It's just great. It's just a fun scene, and you get to see how deadly Django really is.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I love it. I think that's a great scene as well.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
my number 4 is not a kids movie like Django Unchained. It's more like a teen movie, but I saw it when I was a kid. Um, it's the film Edward Scissorhands. The scene where Kim
This
sees.
barely missed my list.
Good, good. It's a scene where Kim sees snow for the first time, and because Edward's making an ice sculpture with his scissors, um, and it's a really beautiful scene. It's a really devastating scene. It directly feeds into the climax of the film and the kind of downfall or the town's rejection of Edward, and it's just really romantic. It's one of those things that, you know, was an early indicator of how great a filmmaker Tim Burton would become.
Yeah, great movie, great pick.
Hmm.
I'm kind of glad I left it out now that you got it.
Yep.
Not that there's any rule that we can't have the same ones, but I feel like it's a point of pride when we don't.
Yes,
Uh,
I agree.
my number three, you might have. I don't know. I feel like from here on out, my picks are pretty cliche. Um, my number three is a movie we've talked about, and it's another ending. It's the hedge maze in The Shining.
Ooh.
Uh, Talking suspense. The cinematography due to the snow is eerie. It's creepy. It feels like you're being stalked by a psychopath with an axe.
Yeah.
And we already talked about how much I love the hedge maze for just horror type reveals around the corner, and a lot of the times there isn't one, especially in this movie. But it's a fantastic scene, and it's a fantastic snow scene for that reason.
I agree. Um, the way he just disorients you is so beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm trying to find. Oh man, that's not the right episode. Hold on. Um. Oh, okay. See, I had the numbers wrong. Okay. Yeah, my number three is not from a movie. It's from
Hmm.
TV, but it's still it doesn't mean anything about its quality, because it is one of the most hard hitting scenes of one of the most explosive television shows of all time. It's season 5, episode 8 of Game of Thrones, Hard Home, specifically. I
Yeah.
think this battle is tied with Battle of the Bastards as my favorite Game of Thrones battle. It's one of the best zombie attack scenes ever, and it's chaotic. It's amazing. There's a brilliant duel between Jon and a
Hmm.
White Walker. He gets a nice little samurai shot of himself, and the end of this of this scene just really is what brings it onto the list, because all the storm clouds are gone, all the blizzard clouds, the blizzard winds are gone, and it's just total silence of all of just everything
Yo.
that they lost and everything that the enemy gained, and it's absolutely devastating. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Once you said television, I was like, "Fuck! I should have done Hard Home from Game of Thrones," because it just TVs for some reason slipped my mind, even though I use it constantly when I run out of ideas. But that's not a run out of ideas pick. That's a fantastic pick, and it deserves that spot.
Yes.
Also deserving this spot is the only time in the original Star Wars trilogy where somebody other than a Jedi uses a lightsaber. And I'm talking Han cutting open a tauntaun and
Oh,
shoving Luke
nice.
inside like a fucking stuffing into a turkey. Um, yeah, it's a classic scene. It shows the harshness that snow can provide, and I feel like it's classic for a reason. You get quips, you get desperation, and you get assistance from a fantastic character, and so the Tauntaun scene in Empire Strikes Back.
So good. So good. It's every kid's first intestines
Yep, true.
on screen. Um, my number two is a little more serious than that. It's a lot more melancholic, from the film Blade Runner 2049, and it's Kay just watching the snowflakes fall. It's so beautiful. An absolute triumph by director Villeneuve, by cinematographer Deakins, and even Wallfish and Zimmer score the scene very beautifully. It kind of recalls the sight and sound of the tears and rain scene from the original Blade Runner. And I just get the sense from Ryan Gosling's acting that he notices and sees every single snowflake as he lies down on the ground. Yeah. One of my favorite scenes in the movie. And I still remember it to this day. The like watching it in the theater for the first time.
Yeah, it's a great scene of a fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the most impossible films that Villeneuve could have pulled off, and
Yeah.
somehow he did. My number one is a movie that I don't remember us ever talking about on this podcast, despite it being the most cliche film. Let's talk about this movie. And so I feel shitty bringing it up. I feel like we're above just being like, oh, this is number one. But fuck you. I'm putting it here anyway. It's the boyhood scene in Citizen Kane. The
Oh, okay.
shot through the log cabin where they're talking about the kid's future, and he's just hanging out with a sled. It's probably the most important scene in that movie. Probably one of my favorite shots of all time. Just the blocking
Yeah.
of it is insane. And it's a beautiful moment. And it's one of the only human moments that you feel for Mr. Kane. And it's a great scene. And I'm sorry to bring Citizen Kane into this podcast, but it's here to
Don't
stay now.
apologize. Don't apologize, man. Orson Welles is the best. Yeah, I agree. I'm upset I didn't think of Citizen Kane as well, but like, yeah, that's a great pick.
Mhm.
I I I had a few classic movies on here. I had that one, or not that one, but like some from the 1940s, some from the 1950s. But I ended up cutting them in favor of kind of a newer classic. I mean, it's been almost 30 years, but this movie has so deeply penetrated the modern consciousness and has been so influential, and the influence continues to this day on television. And it's from Fargo. The entire movie is covered in snow, so I could pick literally any scene.
Yeah.
I saw someone else's list and they chose the wood chipper scene, but I decided to pick the scene featuring Frances McDormand right after that, when she's in the car with Peter Stormare's character, and she had just arrested him, and this woman had seen, who's just a completely normal, average Jane, about to be a mother, just living with her husband and chilling, watching him paint and stuff, and watching TV in bed with him. And she had just seen like the deepest, darkest part of humanity invade her town,
Mhm.
and she still chooses to look at the light, and she says, "Here you are, and it's a beautiful day," and that's why she got the Oscar, and that's why she's the fucking best even today.
True.
Yeah, love Frances McDormand, and I love this scene.
Yeah, Fargo also narrowly missed my list, but not with that scene or the wood chipper scene.
Yeah.
With the one of the opening scenes with the kidnappers getting pulled over by the cop,
Oh
and
yeah,
then the witness who like drives by and they chase him down.
dude,
Um, yeah, so many
so
great
good,
scenes in that movie.
amazing.
Um, Also, another classic that barely missed my list was Gold Rush with Charlie
Oh yeah,
Chaplin, where he shovels snow onto the business next to the one he's shoveling, and he just keeps getting paid. Um,
nice.
it's great. But we're not here to talk about snow scenes, are we? Oh, did you want
No,
you
I
had your finger up like you had more?
I actually haven't seen Gold Rush. I definitely need to check
Oh,
that out. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good one. He wanted to be known for it, so he really put it all out there.
Yeah.
And he eats a shoe. But we're not here to talk about Charlie Chaplin eating a shoe. Snow way in hell we're doing that. Huh. We're talking gambler
Part 8?
movies. Yeah. No. I paused